My story starts on the athletic fields where I learned incredible lessons from my coaches as a youth athlete, as well as my teammates, and continued on through my high school scholastic athletic experience. Well, I'll never forget those experiences, successes, as well as lessons learned and failures, and the lifelong friendships that I value to this day.
Army football, a winner again.
For myself, I was an undersized defensive lineman.
Pitch to Cam. This time he's in trouble, and the cadets playing well. And Will Huff also getting in on the action.
But I would say to categorize myself, I tried to be a good teammate. I tried to master my technique, and I tried to identify advantages that I did have, and that was knowing your assignment, being accountable, playing with 100% intensity, and doing everything that I could to control the only thing that I was able to, and that was my own commitment to the game. And being a captain of the Army football team was incredibly humbling.
No, with number 78, Will Huff, one of the best defensive linemen in the Army, probably their best defensive player right now.
One of my most valued relationships is with one of my Army football teammates, Greg Gatson.
Well, Will Huff is my brother. We've sweated on the fields of friendly strife for many years, busted our tail in a weight room, and served together on a battlefield.
Greg and I met in the summer of 1986, and his role, his discipline, his intensity was very contagious. And as the years went on, we ended up having our lockers across from each other. As with all athletic teams, there's a lot of that locker room time that you really develop the relationship. So not only did we play next to each other on the Army football defensive team, that locker room banter that I appreciated on a daily basis. I got to look Greg in the eye every day before and after practice, and that all contributed into an amazing relationship that I continued on. And the next time I connected with Greg, we were in the 82nd Airborne together. So we're in the 82nd Airborne, and at that time, Greg is a battery commander. I just arrived. So this was another opportunity where I had to learn from Greg Gatson. So I learned from Greg as an Army football player. I then learned from him as what I like to call an airborne gunner in the 82nd, an airborne artilleryman. And then I was able to stay connected, of course, with Greg, and then ultimately we were able to serve together in 2007 Baghdad.
A new year in Iraq, but as 2007 dawned, the situation in Iraq was desperate. The insurgency was growing in strength. Attacks were bolder and deadlier.
What was most inspiring of observing Greg, because I was uniquely positioned, I was with the asymmetric warfare group at the time, and I was able to be a right seat ride, what we called it, to really accompany Greg for 48 hours. And I got to see him engage with his Iraqi army partners, his Iraqi police partners, with the local business leaders, the community leaders, the religious leaders. He really was living this counterinsurgency mantra and was having great success. And after I left Greg, that evening Greg went to a memorial service for his brigade and was operating outside of his battalion area when he was struck by the IED.
The night I was wounded, Will willed himself to the CASH, Combat Support Hospital, where I was being operated on. And he flew with me all the way from Baghdad to Germany, just talking to me, willing me to live. And that's brotherhood.
I was very fortunate then to spend the next 96 hours with Greg. I would just talk to him, hold his hand and just talk, just reminisce about, hey, remember when we did this? And it wasn't necessarily things on the football field, but it was in the locker room, what we did in the dining hall. It was a lot of what being a team member is all about. I would have these conversations with Greg that were very one way. In fact, a couple of the doctors were like, hey, he may be hearing you. We don't know that, but what you're doing, just being here with them is the only thing that you can do, and I try to embrace that moment. During those 96 hours approximately, Greg never regained consciousness, and even though he wasn't conscious, I would like to think that my time there was some value added. And it's something that I haven't spent a lot of time reflecting on. It's just, I appreciate it, and this idea of be there in the moment. It is related back to one of the mantras we had at Army football, which was present moment. And that was something that I tried to focus on, as I just wanted to be there for Greg at his present moment, at what then was my present moment. So when he flew back to the United States, I flew back to Baghdad. The way the unit performed in his absence, I believe, is the ultimate compliment to his true legacy. When they captured the number 3 Al-Qaeda target in Baghdad in 2007, and it was just a great example of a leader's legacy, in this case, Greg Gatson.
There is no doubt I'm here because of his love.
You know, for me, as I enjoyed my Army experience greatly and I was looking for my next transition, I had always been greatly influenced by athletics. So when it came time to get out of the Army, I was looking to get into college athletics. And I was very fortunate that I was able to connect with a gentleman named Tim Leonard, who was the athletic director at Towson University. So I started my first 90 days as a volunteer at Towson University, trying to demonstrate what value I could be. And then over time, I was integrated first as a staff member and then ultimately as one of the deputy athletic directors.
Today, we're going to be talking about soldiers to sidelines and the importance of coaching and bringing character-based coaches who serve their communities, to work. And so we're going to be talking with Will Huff. He's the Director of Partnerships for Soldiers to Sidelines. Will, welcome to the program. Thanks for stepping into the spotlight.
Bob, thanks so much. Where I am today working for Soldiers to Sidelines is something I find very inspiring.
I'm a supporter of Soldiers to Sidelines and believe very much in their mission.
We support the military community, which is active duty service members, veterans, military spouses, and Gold Star families into coaching sports to serve in their community. Throughout the military experience, I always appreciated the value of sports. That was something that West Point emphasized, the active duty Army that I was experienced with emphasized. And then we believe in Soldiers to Sidelines that ultimately, by leveraging this veteran active service component, really the military community, on today's youth, that over time that will have a significant positive impact on our society. I'm just so grateful that I've been blessed with a series of fantastic teammates. I'm very blessed to have an incredible, supportive wife, 2 kids that continue to serve as well. I don't take that for granted, but I do appreciate their willingness to continue to serve and really following an example that I attempted to set for them.